One of the things is that the mold issue that was happening in the first unit was remediated by the fact that I was reimbursed for property that was damaged and I was moved to a different unit. Not saying that that mold issue was ever eradicated from that unit. And that unit stayed vacant for a year and a half, and now people just moved in about 6 months ago.
So it's going to be interesting to find out.
Right.
You know.
And I questioned Dan on that. Well, how did you ever remediate that problem now that people are living there? Oh, well, let me look in our database. Oh, there's something wrong with the database. I'm not able to pull up this stuff. And then he got back to me, and this was just this week, and said, I looked back at the records, and the people have been there for over 6 months, and they are pretty detailed people, and they have not filed any complaint about mold or mildew in that unit. And so I found that interesting.
Do you think it's possible that it could take that much time before mold develops?
What I know is that they just aired that place out, didn't let somebody live there for a year and a half, and painted over everything.
Yeah. Standard operating procedure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they did anything to eradicate that issue.
Okay.
And these people probably just don't know about it yet.
Okay, so that's how that was settled for you.
Yes. So Dan and I finished the conversation with that. Him and I were going to brainstorm about how to eradicate it and left it open-ended like that. That did not sit well with me because I know the laws, I know rights, I know what property management's supposed to do, and it's their legal obligation to rectify the situation and get to the bottom of it. That's on them.
I love this tactic, though. Let's brainstorm it together.
Right. Mm-hmm. I don't know what else to do. Kind of, I'm just at such a loss.
And I just need your thoughts on this.
Right. It was so. I did not feel comfortable with that, so then I went ahead and consulted with Miriam Sayas, the Director of Island Operations, and know her in a professional and a personal capacity. She had told me that she was going to follow up while I was on vacation last month, and that she would talk to Dan and that to contact her when I got back from vacation. So I got back from vacation, I had a conversation with her, and by this time, all of the press and media around Catherine Lundgren and her situation had already come to surface.
And how about the fire guys that were moved out too?
Right.
So that was double whammy on mold.
One of the things that, Miriam had told me is that there needs to be a consistent way of dealing with things. And if there's mold in one unit, then property management needs to treat it the same. So in that discussion, I was under the impression from talking with her that they were going to do the same, they were going to offer the same things that they were doing to Catherine. Yeah. Let's relocate you. You can't be in the unit. We need to eradicate the issue. And if we don't, then we're going to do a construction eviction because now you've brought this up as a health issue and now you're not letting us address it. But that is not what happened. So Miriam was supposed to call me on Wednesday after meeting with Dan at 11. Well, Dan called me on Wednesday morning and said, I talked with Miriam, and it doesn't matter if you go to Miriam or Jeff Kohler, who's his boss. Bottom line is I'm the property manager, and everything comes back down to me. So I wanted to have a conversation with you and how we're going to deal with this. So one of the things that he threw out was that they would replace all the carpeting in our unit with vinyl, and it was going to cost them $3,000. And that if that didn't eradicate the issue, that he was going to ask us not to use the bottom space in our closet and deduct it from the rent every month. I don't know how that's going to, it's not going to damage my shoes, but it's still not taking care of the mold issue. Then Dan told me that if my partner and I wanted the vinyl to match the kitchen, the entryway, and the washroom, that we would have to pay for that out of pocket. The guy came out on Thursday. He didn't know what he was talking about. I had to call Dan. Dan was already gone for the day at 11:45 on Thursday. Left him a voicemail. He didn't bother to call me back yesterday. And then the guy gave me an estimate that to replace those to match it would cost us $1,745. I am not paying a penny. I don't own this property. And so I will discuss that with Dan. Then I was also told that this guy doesn't do anything with moving or fixing things, and that it would be on my partner and I to remove everything out. And I'm not doing that either. I need to be compensated for that, or you need to bring in movers and I need to supervise realize that this is going to happen. So that's the conversation that I'm going to have with Dan. I have also been thinking that if this issue isn't dealt with to my satisfaction, I'm going to file a complaint with the Department of Public Health, with the building inspection, and have them come out there and them do a report, and then them start issuing sanctions to JSCO over this. Because now we're going on next month 3 years in this new unit that I've been bringing up this issue. And it's still not resolved to my satisfaction.
You know, I'm going to just add my little thing in here. Same old.
Right. I truly believe that Tida and John Stewart, they don't want to keep throwing a bunch of money on these rental properties because they keep anticipating that the island's going to be redeveloped, and the area where it's all housing is going to be torn down and be an estuary.
Yes.
So why keep spending thousands and thousands of dollars on all these issues?
The problem is people live there.
Exactly. My concerns are around health. I
came back. Your health?
So I came back from vacation. Was gone for 8 days on the 24th, and within 24 hours, I ended up getting a cold and a cough, and that still hasn't completely gone away.
What is the date that you came back?
The 24th of April.
Okay. So now today is May 3rd.
And I'm still at the tail end of this cough and cold. But in December, I ended up getting bronchitis, which I've never had before, and had to be prescribed an inhaler. So I am a pretty healthy person, but I cannot help but think that my health has not been impacted, not by the radiation, by the mold that's in that unit. And it's very hard to prove where this stuff is coming from. But I know that mold is toxic, that it's unhealthy, and I notice now that I have to carry an inhaler. I have gotten more sick and I've called in sick to work more days than I ever have since I've moved out here to this island.
Calling in sick is not for a little congestion.
Right.
Calling in sick is for...
I can't do my job because I don't feel well.
How do you feel, Damian?
I
mean, you don't just feel
cold.
snuffly.
No, it's congestion, it's headaches, it's a chronic cough, a cold, it's having night sweats, and I don't have any medical condition. I'm not HIV positive. I don't have a compromised immune system, so none of that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not overweight. I'm not morbidly obese. I don't smoke.
Yeah.
So where is all this coming from?
Even night sweats.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Have you checked out the side effects from breathing mold? Are night sweats part of that?
I'm not sure about that. But I know that I've been more susceptible to having colds and coughs and just overall not feeling well. Feeling very sluggish and like there's something wrong, but like I can't pinpoint it. It's fatigue, those types of things.
Have you talked to Catherine about this?
Yes, I have. Her and I have consulted over the last week, but even beforehand, I met Catherine probably about a year ago through Catholic Charities.
The reason I brought it up, to ask you, is that her children are having similar symptoms.
Right.
And she attributes that to mold too, the sluggishness.
Yes.
You know, I don't know about the night sweats, but definitely the sluggishness and the sicky feeling. Mm-hmm. Just not feeling right.
Right. And, sometimes when I get these colds and coughs, and it's not like there's a bunch of phlegm. It's not like, it's clear. So that also concerns me as why is this constantly going on?
Mason said when he wakes up in the morning, he has kind of a dryness in his nose around the sinus area.
Right.
That is very strange to him. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, that will tend to happen too. I also sometimes notice, so I always have to blow my nose in the morning, so does my partner. But
this is new?
I would say new in the aspect that I didn't really notice that or would do that before I lived on the island.
So do you think it may be, now speaking of coughing, do you think this may have been coming on for a while, maybe even started back in the first unit?
Oh, absolutely.
Has that occurred to you?
Absolutely, because if anything, the time that we spent in that first unit, that's where I feel was the most toxic. I mean,
Really?
because that mold was everywhere. It was on the walls, on the bedboard, on the bed, on the windows, on the car. I mean, it was everywhere.